Terre Haute had a very direct connection with the struggle for women to obtain the right to vote in our country. Ida Husted Harper was a prominent figure in the United States women's suffrage movement. She was an American author and journalist who wrote primarily to document the suffrage movement and to show support for its ideals.
In 1887, she helped organize the women's suffrage movement in Indiana, serving as its secretary. In 1896, she joined the National Women's Suffrage Movement, worked as a reporter there, and later became the historian. She brought Susan B. Anthony to Terre Haute for a suffrage conference, became her friend, and collaborated with her on a book, The History of Women's Suffrage.
Although Ida didn't reside in Terre Haute until she was an adult, it was here that she established herself as a writer and an independent woman. She is indeed a historic Hautean, and her life's work was known not only throughout the state of Indiana, but nationally and internationally.
I'm Ida Husted Harper, and I was born in Fairfield, Indiana in 1851 and came to Terre Haute in 1871 as a newlywed. I began responding to articles in the Terre Haute Saturday Evening Mail newspaper, signing my letters, Mrs. John Smith. Now, the editor published those articles for some time until he finally discovered my true identity and approached my husband for permission to ask me to write for the newspaper for a small compensation. My husband said I could write for the newspaper since it seemed to amuse me, but that I must not accept money. But I accepted the editor's proposal and the pay, and soon began writing a column called Thoughts. I later changed it to A Woman's Opinion, and a year later, I began signing my own name. During that time, I developed a deep love of writing, and it became important to me to express in my writing just how much women of my day were different from their own grandmothers. Our circumstances had changed from predominantly pioneer and farm life to more urban. More and more women are going to college, and women working in the home were aided by modern conveniences that allowed them more time for outside work, including active reform. My articles were published for 12 years in the Saturday Evening Mail, as well as newsletters and magazines, covering a wide range of topics from temperance and spiritualism to marriage and education. I soon focused on political, economic, and social change for women, advocating financial independence for women. Prior to my marriage, I taught school in Peru, Indiana for a year. The joy of making money for my work during that year certainly influenced my life as much as any other aspect.
A woman has an active mind that craves employment and a proud spirit that hates to be dependent, even on a loved one. Must a woman forever occupy a subordinate place created by man, subject to him? A woman may perform the drudgery of a nurse, but may not occupy the skilled and intellectual position of the doctor. She may go into the jail cells and plead with the depraved and unfortunate humanity, but may not share in the dignity and honor of the legal profession. She may struggle to repair the damages caused by evils that laws and customs permit to flourish, but may not have a direct and positive influence over those laws and customs.
During my time in Terre Haute, I was deeply involved in the effort to open a public library. And I worked on that project, soliciting subscriptions to pay for books, collecting signatures on a tax levy, even nailing up posters encouraging people to vote on the issue. Even with all that work, and that I am a taxpayer, I was not allowed to go and place my little yes in the ballot box. Why, it would have been so unwomanly to do so. While helping to organize a women's suffrage organization in 1887, I met Susan B. Anthony, and I began to envision that women could lead reform, and votes for women became a primary cause in my life. In 1890, I left Terre Haute and my marriage to write for a newspaper in Indianapolis. I later moved to California to finish college and to join the Susan B. Anthony suffrage campaign. I lived with her for 2 years, organizing her journals, speeches, and correspondence into the life and work of Susan B. Anthony. I also co-edited the History of Women's Suffrage. My work toward the women's cause took me across the nation and to Europe as a delegate, journalist, historian, and lecturer.
By what authority do you assume that we do not know what to do? The very fact there ever came a cry for women's suffrage shows that we know what we want and we have sense enough to make our wishes known. Women do not ask to vote on the grounds of our goodness, intelligence, morality, or any other quality. We claim it as an abstract right, and as such, we mean to have it.
I was blessed with my health that allowed me to work on the women's cause for 50 years and at last see votes for women become a reality. In 1920, with the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, giving women the right to vote.
Things to know about Ida Husted Harper. Research the Terre Haute Saturday Evening Mail newspaper. When was this newspaper in circulation in Terre Haute? What other newspapers were published in Terre Haute at this time? Temperance. What is the definition of temperance? How is it important to our history? Research women's suffrage. See how much you can learn about this very important movement in our country. Learn more about Susan B. Anthony. This famous American woman had a coin dollar created to honor her. Why was she so important to our country's history? Books to find. The Life and Work of Susan B. Anthony. See if you can find this book in the Vigo County Public Library. History of Women's Suffrage. Book co-written by Susan B. Anthony and Ida Husted Harper. Is this book available at our public library? Learn more about the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Learn about this very important constitutional amendment. It changed the course of history.